A remote community in a country setting was being haunted by a paranormal presence that was destroying the strength, vitality, and normal functioning of it. The people in this community were very afraid and desperate because people were going missing every other week. Some people had reported seeing something that they described as a ghostly figure wandering around in the desolate areas of the community and areas out of the nearby town. There was a man who lived somewhere in one of the surrounding areas, and he told the people in the area about his terrifying encounter with what he described as a paranormal presence in his home. He said that one night, sometime after he went to bed, he was having a hard time falling asleep, and then he started hearing something that sounded like a breeze coming in the hall towards his room. After that, he heard the door of his room opening and heard steps walking towards his bed, as if something that he could not see came into his room. A few seconds after that, everything went completely silent, and he thought he was probably too tired and was imagining things. But not too long after he finished that thought, he started feeling that his feet were being pulled out, as if somebody or something that he could not see, but could feel, was trying to pull him out his bed with such an extreme force that he could not hold onto the bed and was dragged on the floor all the way through the hall, until he ended up almost at the door of his house. Whatever was dragging him wanted to take him out of his house. He described the feeling he had at that moment as one of the most horrifying things that he has ever experienced. He didn't understand what was happening and did not have any explanation for what he was going through at that moment. He said he thought that was it, and that he was going to die. Many thoughts were going through his mind at that moment, and one of those thoughts was to pray, so he then started to pray. As his body was approaching the door and he started to pray, he said that all of a sudden everything stopped. His body stopped being dragged, and the extreme pulling force he was feeling on his feet was gone. He said he was never the same after that terrifying experience. Because of the stories of people seeing the ghostly figure in the areas surrounding the town, and the many stories similar to the one of the man that was almost dragged out of his house, the disappearances of the loved ones of people from this community, and nearby areas started being attributed to this ghost or paranormal presence as people called it. Their loved ones were never seeing again. And as there were more disappearances happening and more horrifying stories of people being dragged out of their beds and out to the fields in the middle of the night to never being seen again, the people in the town decided to call the rabbi to perform a ceremony to cast this evil presence out of their town. It is said that after that ceremony the community has started to feel as if things are going back to normal and are hoping that the disappearances and scary stories come to an end. There was a very strange man called Farmdem who lived in a small village. He was not a very nice man, and had terrible manners as well as a terrible temper. He was very much disliked and feared by everybody in the village. There was a woman called Yemeline who lived alone on the outskirts of the village, and he was always making advances towards her, but she was not interested. One day she openly rejected him and he swore to her that she will be his, even after his death. Many people in the village rumored that Ferdem had made a pact with the devil or that he was a demon himself. A few months later, after the altercation Ferdem had with Yemeline, he died. Legend has it that what happened during the day of his funeral marked and terrified the people in the village forever. According to the legend, they were not able to bury him, as his casket was taken away by an extremely strong and abnormal wind that looked more like a tornado. It is said that while his casket was flying away, his body came out of it and flew away too. Neither his body nor his casket were ever found. Based on the legend, one day Yemeline was going to the village, and while walking uphill a tornado-like wind came towards her, and then she saw something that looked like Farmdem but had like demonic facial features. According to the legend, he looked like a demon. He had an evil laugh and was shouting, "Yemeline, Yemeline, today you are going to be mine. I am going to take you with me," and he continued with his evil laugh. The wind started pulling her towards him and he grabbed her feet and started pulling her down. She was terrified and tried hard to run back uphill to escape from that demon, but in the end he overpowered her and took her with him. She was never seen again after that day, and according to the myth, to this day, Farmdem the demon still haunts the village. There have been numerous mysterious disappearances of people in the village that were never seen again. People in the village say that they have seen Farmdem in his demonic form appear in the outskirts of town chasing and calling them. It is said that this demon mainly takes women, but men have also vanished in the village. There was a report about another woman from the village who was last seen leaving with an unknown man, and the next time she was found, she was dead, and it is said that her body was abnormally scratched all over. The people in the town attribute this to Farmdem, the demon of the village. Now, nobody in the village comes out at night. The residents prefer to stay inside their houses for fear that if they go outside at night, the demon is going to capture and take them away. They still hope that someday this demon is going to leave the village and never haunt it again.
Today we're going to talk about the Inukins, or Little People of Alaska. The term Little People refers to the nocturnal Inukins, who are regarded as being diminutive and mischievous. The broad area of their habitat is north of Kotzebue, Alaska, and the Point Hope location is possibly best recognized for being the starting point of the myth. The Inupiaq children in the Kotz area receive many old Inukins fireside tales from elders. The Kotz elders told their youngsters boogie man tales in a manner similar to how the city man scares his kids with such tales. Native Inupiaq mothers would say things like, "If you don't behave, the Inukins will take you away." The Ignagalurauks coexisted with the residents of Point Hope, Alaska, for a very long time before the whaling corporation showed up. After a dog devoured one of their children, they left the village. It is said that they are about 3-4 feet tall. These Inukin people are tiny. It is said that they continue to practice traditional ways of life and wear caribou hide clothing. They still use a bow and arrow to hunt. They occupy caverns and the subsurface throughout this large area. You'll never believe they have superhuman abilities. They can sprint extremely fast and are incredibly strong. They sneak through the communities taking food. Any hunter who kills a caribou must lift it onto a sled with the assistance of 2 adult Inupiaq men. How many Ignakalaurak or Inukins does it take to pick one up and run with it, hoisting an animal over his head while running with a dead caribou? How does that make sense? Some tales around describe that caribou have been spotted traveling swiftly in a bush by bush pilots. Imagine this if you can. There is a tale about an Inupiaq guy named Luke Tunuk, who allegedly was out hunting a long way from Point Hope. Luke's four-wheeler was bogged down in the mud as he drove hundreds of miles into a big, empty space. He had made numerous attempts to lift or pull it free of the ruts, when he suddenly noticed his Honda rising in the air and bouncing down on firmer ground while something that was somewhat of a blur was running away. He was already fatigued and hunched over and exhaling heavily. These little beings seem to arrive out of nowhere to help a hunter when he or she is lost, stuck, or in distress, but they vanish just as quickly. There's another tale about an Inupiaq man who stated that he killed a caribou. He said that after that, he then jumped in his vehicle and sped across the hills, and when he arrived at the spot where he saw the caribou fell, it wasn't there. He said he was certain that was the location, but there was no blood to be found, and there were no traces to the left or right or forward. It was gone. It was as if it magically disappeared.
Now we are going to talk about the Goat Man. The mythical creature known as the Goat Man, who is said to be half man and half goat, is claimed to prowl woodlands and hide beneath bridges in search of his next victim before committing heinous murders. There are some stories about a goat man that inhabits a bridge in a small town in Texas. This bridge is thought to be haunted. According to a popular urban legend, once this grotesque figure is seen, a number of unexplained disappearances are certain to follow. Some people think that the Goat Man sleeps for long periods of time before waking up to search for prey. The demon's name is the subject of other urban tales. The Goat Man's bridge is said to be haunted, and anyone who dares to cross it while uttering his name will be invoking his evil spirit. According to the legend, the Goat Man goes to sleep beneath the bridge during the day, but at night, he frequently wanders out to look for food and only comes back at the sound of his name. He awakens when his name is called and is frequently much more aggressive as a result of the disturbance of his sleep. Based on other legends, the Goat Man's bridge serves as a portal to hell, and those who were lucky enough to return from it have described horrifying visions of fire and hellfire as they crossed the bridge at precisely 3 in the morning. It is said that a second apparition, frequently described as a young woman who is wailing eternally for her lost child, is reported to accompany the Goat Man. Late-night commuters crossing the bridge have apparently heard her spirit crying, and others have seen her sobbing right at the center of the bridge. The spirit of the woman is rumored to disappear when confronted. Some claim that the two spirits are related and that the Goat Man kidnapped the young woman's child years ago. She committed suicide after learning the truth, and her ghost has since haunted the bridge. There have also been other tales of weird things happening, like strange lights emerging in the nearby woods, tourists feeling hands touching them in the darkness, and pebbles being thrown at them as they cross the bridge, among other strange occurrences at that bridge. That place has been the focus of several paranormal investigation shows, due to the large number of unexplained events that have occurred there. That bridge is definitely worth the journey. It's a fascinating historic site that both nature lovers and believers in the paranormal will enjoy exploring. Just be careful not to cross it after 3 in the morning. If you enjoyed this video and would like to see more videos like this one, please consider subscribing to our channel, as well as liking and sharing this video, as it helps our channel. Thank you for your support. I will see you in the next one. Until then.